Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of The Men of Yoshiwara, Kikuya. And we are on Hayato's path, Hayato slash Hayabusa, whichever one you want to call him. And I'm so grateful that I've had a little bit of good input about this series so far. So it looks like a few people are interested, and I hope I'm doing the series justice. I think I probably need to brush up. I need to brush up on some of the guys' voices a little. I'm not completely satisfied with the voices I've chosen for them, but yeah, hopefully I'll be able to sort that out a little bit later. It's really hard for me to do guys' voices. I've never really done imitations or tried doing different voices before. This is actually a very new thing for me. So please excuse me, and we will continue on here with Chapter 11, Let Me Do As I Please. Iraha had ordered Tokiwa to escort me to the front gate. Tokiwa and I looked at each other in astonishment. What? Oh, that's unusual. You sure are caring when it comes to this girl, aren't you, Iraha?
I'm sure it's just your imagination. After all that's happened, nothing bad will happen if I have her escorted to the front gate.
I don't mind, but... But I feel so guilty. I couldn't accept your kindness after everything I've done. It's all right. Iraha is said to be a demon, but he'll make exceptions for Hayabusa's lovely wife. What?
That has a nice ring to it. I'd love to find a girl like that.
Hey, stay quiet, you.
All right. But if I'm like Hayabusa and act like a good boy, Iraha will start to favor me. I should reform myself. Please do just that. You're too difficult to deal with and give me headaches all the time. Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Why don't we go soon, Misao?
But... My mood started to brighten up after hearing their conversation, but being treated so nicely after all that made me feel awkward.
There still might be a ruckus outside of Kikuya. It's dangerous to travel alone at night, so you may spend the night if you wish. How about it?
You don't look so well, either. Shouldn't you go home and get some proper rest? You can come here again tomorrow afternoon. I'll arrange it so that you can meet with Hayabusa. What?
Takeo.
It's fine, isn't it? I was just following your example. Iraha looked wary, but Takeo looked at him with a smile. Got it? I'll be waiting for you tomorrow. You'll be able to talk to him for a little while. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to. Seeing you and Hayabusa happy is enough for me. Takeo, you still have hope. Where there's a will, there's a way. Being unable to see your dreams come true in the Pleasure District is the worst type of punishment. Takeo's smile was extremely kind. I thought I was done crying, but the dormant tears rolled down my face. Thank you so much. I haven't done a thing. This guy's the one who's going to take you to the front gate.
Oh, don't push me.
All that's left is Iraha's judgment.
I just can't leave these two young, experienced kids alone.
So, I guess you do have a heart, Iraha. I thought you were just going to trick this naive girl into giving her valuables, but...
So, you knew about that too? Huh? What are you talking about?
You don't have to know.
What?
Iraha, it seems that there are courtesans who love to gossip, crawling around Kikuya. You should assume that the walls have eyes and ears.
It looks like I can't even speak carelessly inside of my own room.
Well, if it's something truly confidential, then you should keep it to yourself. Tokiwa, take her home already.
Yes, sir. Oh, wait. Don't order me around, Takeo.
My cheeks started to loosen up, just a little bit. I finally noticed that I'd been smiling.
Your face looks so much brighter now. Let's go, Misao.
I thanked Iraha and Takeo politely as I left Kikuya. Hayato had taken me down Yoshiwara's main road numerous times. However, Tokiwa was by my side tonight. I never meant to make Hayato suffer this much. I didn't want to cause any trouble or bring anyone bad luck. A deep sense of regret was swimming inside me right now.
Don't make such a gloomy face. It would make Hayabusa sad to see you like this.
Tokiwa spoke in a bright, indifferent tone. I looked up at him and noticed that he was smiling. Right now, Hayabusa must be...
Do you know what's happening to him now?
I hesitated but slowly started to nod.
Oh, did Iroha tell you?
Yeah, that's why it's so hard for me. I don't know what to do.
I'll tell you something because of how earnest you are.
Huh?
The hardships men endure for their loved ones are like medals to them. Got it?
Medals?
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? He's suffering for his one true love.
Because of Tokiwa's excited tone, it made me think that the things happening to Hayato were admirable. Though I knew that wasn't the case. Do you think Hayato's like that too? Do you think Hayato's like that too?
Yeah, of course.
Tokiwa had an incredibly big smile on his own face.
In any case, cheer up. I'm sure Hayabusa wants you to smile.
Okay. I'll think about what I should do a little more.
Sounds good. But you and Hayabusa think about each other so much, you should relax a little.
Thanks. We were at the front gate in no time. Somewhere in this pleasure district, Hayato was... Yes, I was reluctant, but ultimately I had to go home. The next day, while the sun was still out, I headed towards Kikuya as promised. And... Takeo took me to the jail where Hayato was being held. Takeo, thank you so much.
Don't worry about it.
You've been so good to me. I thought a lot about last night's events and remembered how gallant you've been.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
It doesn't mean anything.
I know, I was just teasing you a little bit. So, what were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking about the time you'd eavesdropped on us in Hayato's room.
Oh yeah, that happened.
You hadn't told Iroha about what you'd heard, right? I'm sure you hadn't because you're being so nice to me.
Yeah, I wonder.
Why won't you tell me?
It doesn't matter either way. You'd heard the conversation with Iroha yesterday, right? There are courtesans who love to gossip crawling around Kikuya.
It finally hit me. It really didn't matter. I was sure that Takeo let other people decide what they wanted to believe. It was on me to trust him or doubt him. He was so mysterious. All of these events helped me to understand why Hayato looked up to Takeo. Here it is. The guards should be out on patrol right now.
Now's the only time you can sneak in and meet with him.
Thanks.
Don't make too much of a scene just because the guards aren't around.
I won't. I silenced my footsteps as I infiltrated the guard station. Hayato! I shouted and rushed over to Hayato. Misao. Hayato slowly lifted up his head. His eyes shined in the dim space. Why are you here? Well, Takeo led me here. Takeo did?
You sure have gotten yourself into a fine mess.
Hayato's eyes opened wide in shock, and he returned to his senses. You can't stay here. They'll be back any minute.
It's okay, Hayabusa. Right now, the officers are out on patrol, and there's only one young guard out in front.
Is that true?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of time.
Feeling relieved, Hayato breathed in and slowly started to blink. It had only been one night, but he looked so pale. His clothes were tattered, and he had bruises all over. Hayato, I can't believe they did this to you. I took a handkerchief from my bosom and tried to wipe the dirt from his cheeks. I reached out and touched his body. His body shivered, but he put his hand over mine. It was the coldest I've ever felt it. It trembled little by little. Hayato, I put both of my hands around his and gripped it tightly. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault.
I did this all on my own. You don't need to worry. I decided to do this in case anything happened.
But it hurts, doesn't it?
It's better than imagining you suffering in pain.
But you're all scarred up.
This is the first time I've ever cherished someone more than myself.
You're more important than anything else to me.
You're so important to me. That's why I'm protecting you. You'll let me continue doing it, right?
No.
There you go again, saying no to everything.
I can't help it. I don't like seeing you suffer.
I never want to see you suffer either.
Oh. Hayato slowly started to hug me.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I could hear his whisper vanish into my ear. It went inside of me and made me overjoyed. I put my arms around him as well.
I don't know what I'd do if I never saw you again.
I don't want that.
Yeah, neither do I.
He buried his face in my neck. He gave me a light kiss on the same spot. Oh. Our bodies separated slightly. This time we kissed on the lips. My heart throbbed and I couldn't breathe. It was all so painful. We kissed even deeper than ever before. We pressed our lips together forcefully.
Misao.
Hayato.
And then,
as he sweetly and gently pecked my lips, Hayato pulled back. I slowly opened my closed eyes and we were now looking straight at each other. Then, Hayato suddenly started blinking.
Sorry, I forgot you were there, Takeo.
That was right. Takeo was right there with us.
Simply blush.
I was so embarrassed that I couldn't think. My cheeks gradually became flushed.
You don't have to be so embarrassed, Misao.
Yeah.
I'm used to seeing this stuff in Yoshiwara.
But that was really intense. It tastes differently each time, doesn't it? Takeo began to chuckle. I really couldn't handle how embarrassing it was. In an instant, all I could think about was Hayato. I couldn't think of anything else.
Sorry, Takeo.
I'm sorry. You don't need to be sorry about it. It's only natural to let your passion flow in a place like this. The two of you can continue if you don't mind me watching.
We wouldn't do that.
Are you sure? You really don't act like a courtesan, Hayabusa. I can't believe your cheeks are pink just like hers after doing that. I started to notice that Hayato's cheeks were really red. We looked at each other's flushed cheeks. And then... ending in the middle of sentences. Chapter 12, like a final farewell. We looked at each other's flushed cheeks, and then Hayato brought his lips closer. This time, we kissed each other softly. It's an emotional reunion.
Thank you, Takeo. I don't know how to thank you.
You don't need to thank me. Takeo smiled at us gently, and it felt so comforting. Hayato must have felt the same because he started to smile too.
But what about Kikuya? I'm sure Iroha's furious.
He didn't seem that mad. Yeah, Iroha treated me so nicely. Everyone in Kikuya is so kind.
Yeah, you're right, but... Don't you think Iroha's scary?
Him?
Yeah.
No, I don't really think he's scary. But why? I never thought Iroha is scary before.
I see. I guess you're right. I'm in his debt, so what am I saying?
Hayato looked a bit regretful. I hope I didn't get bad points with him there. It's only natural to feel anxious when you can't see anything around you. It's all right, Hayato. Everyone in Kikuya is worried about you. They're all very concerned.
I'm so thankful. But I don't want to cause any more trouble.
It's all right. You haven't caused any trouble before this, so one time should be enough. I'm sure you won't be punished.
But we need to proceed with caution.
I swear, you two are like two peas in a pod.
Huh? Is there something similar about us?
I'm sure you haven't noticed because it's part of your personality.
Tell me, what's similar about us?
For one, the way you two are so curious about everything. You're both kind, earnest, and don't like to rely on others. Hayato and I looked at each other and then tilted our heads. Am I like that?
Am I like that too?
You two are like real siblings. I felt happy and embarrassed at the same time. My cheeks began to feel slightly warm. But time's almost up.
Already?
We were finally able to see each other again, but our time together was almost over. It was painful and rough. I clenched my teeth together.
Misao.
Hayato called out to me, sounding defeated. He held my arm tightly and looked at me. His eyes entranced me, and our eyes interlocked.
Listen to me. I just want to make sure you don't tell anyone what actually happened. We were unfortunate because the daughter of a wealthy merchant was one of the elopers. That's why the patrol supervisor is trying to hunt down anyone involved.
It doesn't sound like this is going to end well.
Yeah, so don't do anything, Misao. And make sure to never talk about the truth, okay? Do you understand, Misao?
Yeah.
Okay, good girl.
He petted my head. But I hadn't promised anything to him. I would probably take action. It might betray Hayato's feelings, but I might end up telling someone what had actually happened. Hey, Hayato, I have one more thing to tell you.
What? I hope it's not something sad.
Don't worry, I wanted to tell you about Takeo.
Takeo?
Hayato looked over at Takeo, but he quickly looked at me again. I know for a fact that Takeo hadn't snitched on us to Iraha.
Huh?
He couldn't have done it because he's such a good person. He's always willing to help us out.
Misao.
Please understand. Takeo's really important to you, isn't he? Hayato smiled gently. He then wrapped his hands around my cheek and softly caressed them.
I knew that for a while now.
Huh?
Takeo isn't the type of person that would go around spreading rumors. If I thought about it calmly, I would have figured that out immediately. I'm such a fool.
I never thought Takeo was to blame anyway, I think.
I doubted him for a moment that day.
Then you trust him now?
Of course I do. I've known Takeo for a long time, but not as long as I've known you. I should have known what kind of person he was, but when it comes to things about you, my field of vision gets blocked. I should fix that bad habit of mine.
Hayato. He smiled gently like a shy young boy, but it was a very sober smile. It felt like Hayato was about to disappear any second now. His face looked so empty. It's time. We held each other's hands tightly. I said, I'll do something for you. Hayato, I'll be sure to do something for you. I'll do my best to help you out of here.
You don't have to do something dangerous like that.
Please, let me help.
I would worry about you. I can't protect you while I'm in here. Misao, don't be reckless.
Yeah, same to you. We let go of each other's hands. It reminded me of the times we'd parted at the front gate. I felt so much lonelier now than those times. I was frightened, helpless, and sad. I loved him. Maybe, during all these years ever since I was a kid, I'd been in love with him all along.
Misao.
Well, let's go. The front of the building was getting louder. It was time for us to leave. Hayato, I love... Without delay, he let go of my last finger. We exited through the back before I could finish my last words. We returned to the pleasure district. I went back home in a daze. What should I do now? No matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't come up with an answer. But if it's possible, I want to see Hayato again tomorrow. That's all I could think of. It was the least I could do. I grabbed my sewing kit and began making a good luck charm. Please, I prayed that nothing bad would happen to Hayato again. When I was young, I'd tried making a good luck charm, even though I hadn't known how. At that time, Hayato had been sick and had suffered a high fever for 3 days. I'd pricked myself over and over. I'd been worried that Hayato was going to die. I cried while making it, and I'd cried when I'd given it to his mother. Now that I think about it, after recovering, Hayato was always in perfect health. I remembered that he'd always kept that crappy charm on him. Hayato really cherishes his possessions. He'd even remembered the comfort candies that I'd loved. He'd made sure not to run out of it, and had continued buying even though I wasn't there.
These candies were especially sweet. I'm sure you'll love them.
I'd opened my lips and had let him feed me the sweet, sweet candies. My lips had become hot after he touched them. I'd been nervous and couldn't figure out the flavor.
How does it taste?
I hadn't been able to tell him my thoughts, even after he'd asked me that. After that, we'd made a pinky promise. I promised to take the valuables.
Pinky promise.
It had felt so nostalgic. It had been a gentle and sweet promise to bind and protect me. My first time in Yoshiwara, and the day I'd been reunited with Hayato. It had only been a few days ago, but it felt like it had been ages. It had felt like our years apart hadn't existed. But the day we'd been reunited at the Inari Shrine.
The moon looks incredibly pretty tonight, don't you think? It feels like something wonderful is about to happen.
It had been so many years since I'd seen Hayato. He'd matured wonderfully into a beautiful courtesan. He'd fascinated me. On that gorgeously charming night, my beloved Hayato had become a nighttime butterfly. Nevertheless, he hadn't changed inside. He was kind, innocent, and earnest.
I never thought I'd see you again so quickly. You don't have to look so sad. You should laugh, because you've become so pretty.
He'd caressed my head and cheeks softly. I'd cuddled closer to my beloved's warmth. My heart had been filled with joy, and that was when I'd started going to the pleasure district.
Misao, you need to get up soon. You never were a morning person.
The morning after we'd slept in the same futon, he'd sounded so embarrassed.
I wish we could stay like this forever.
I'd always dreaded leaving him again, but I'd always been excited to see him again. Hayato didn't like that I'd been going to the pleasure district, but that was the only place we could meet. There was nothing I could do about it. Later, I'd confessed to Hayato that I'd helped 2 runaways.
But that doesn't account for your feelings. If I were standing in front of that couple, I'm sure I'd forget about logic and help them too.
That was what he told me while I regretted my actions.
No problem. I'm here to protect you. I'll always keep you safe no matter what the situation.
He'd said those words to me when I'd been scared. And all the while he'd protected me, just as he'd promised. I'd been the one who hadn't kept my promise. Hayato had told me to keep the valuable items safe, but I'd planned on having Kikuya hold them for me. And then Hayato had been arrested. After sewing the last stitch on the good luck charm, I let out a deep breath. I realized I was crying and gently wiped the tears away. My mother started speaking to me right at that moment. "Misao, do you know where the sewing kit is?" My door suddenly opened. "Oh, sorry, Mom, I was using it." I quickly tidied up the sewing kit. My mother came into my room without making a sound. "Isn't that a good luck charm?" "Oh, yeah, this is, but you'd made one in the past. That one had been for Hayato." "Yes, that's right. He'd been really sick that time, right?"
What's wrong? Why are your eyes red?"
Her gentle voice made me cry. I was surrounded by such kind people. And yet
What's the matter?
I told my mother about everything that had happened. "I'm sorry, Mom." "So that's what's happened." "I don't know what to do anymore." My mother grabbed my shoulders tightly.
"Misao, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. You haven't helped any runaways."
"Huh?"
"That was something that had happened in your dreams. You've never done something like that. Do you understand?"
But...
You need to tell yourself that you haven't done it. If you can promise me that, I can do something about this mess."
"Huh? What are you talking about?"
"The patrol supervisor is an old acquaintance of mine. I might be able to do something if I have a talk with her."
That shocking fact was right next to me this entire time. My mother and I headed to Yoshiwara. We might be able to do something. Hayato might be set free, and we could be together again. I felt impatient as those fleeting expectations filled my heart. And then, cliffhanger! I'm so sorry to do this to you all when this is really getting interesting and we gotta see what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna have to leave this video off there because that's been 2 chapters. So I hope that some of you will be back to see what happens next. And I'd love to see you in any other future videos. I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show your support. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye, everybody.